Hello and welcome to Joe's Abode. Let's chat peel and stick flooring. These were all the rage for the past year or so. I've seen multiple variations of them, especially the checkerboard style, which I personally have in my house right now. This was a project I did for my foyer/entryway, so it was a very small space and it was super easy to manage. I understand why people loved it because it drastically changes the vibe of your space and it's so easy to install. It's been 6 months since I've completed this project and I just want to show you how well the tiles have held up. First and foremost, these are the tiles that I used. I know they were sold out for a long time on and off, but I'm pretty sure they're readily available now. You can find them linked in the description below. For those of you who are new here, I'm Joanne. I'm a self-taught DIYer who wants to upgrade her build-a-grade home into something a little more customized and homey. If that's your vibe, hit subscribe and you can get inspiration for your home too. Before we get into how the tiles have held up, I'm just going to show you how I installed them, just so you have an idea of the prep work that goes into it to make sure that you have maximum adhesion so your tiles won't move around. And on top of that, I will show you the one mistake I made while installing these tiles. It's not a deal breaker, but it's a mistake I wish I didn't have to make. So hopefully you don't have to make. To start, always give the place a good clean, especially since this is a high traffic area. I didn't want any dust or dirt to get in the way of the tile sticking. It's important to lay out the tile first to see how they would look, just so that everything looks balanced from all angles. After I moved them around a bit to make sure everything was even, I measured to see where the center spot would be so I could place my first tile. After the first tile was placed, the rest of the full tiles are actually relatively easy to stick on, since you just follow the pattern. I used the tile backing paper to trace the edges before transferring it to the tile for cutting. But the corners were tricky and I ended up poking a lot of holes in the paper while tracing, so I had to makeshift the tracing with a smaller piece of paper that I ripped. The sides were a lot easier since they were straight, so after using the same tracing method, I scored the line with a box cutter and was able to break off the excess pieces at the line. I did the same thing when it came to the vent holes, and those also didn't have to be perfect because they were going to be covered by the vent cover anyway. And yes, I'm aware I should have probably changed the vent covers. Since the weird edges weren't my forte, I had to figure out a different way to go about it. I ended up using a piece of clay and pushed it into the weird corner areas so it molds into the shape of the corner. Then I traced it onto a piece of paper to transfer it to the tile and cut it out that way. It was not the most seamless process, but I think it did work. This is what it looked like when it was all done. This is what the tiles look like now after 6 months. For the most part, they held up really well. There is a small scratch or crack right here, but I'm not sure what caused it, so I also don't think the tiles were to blame here. They still feel solid as they were pretty thick. Nothing is peeling up or moving around. And even though there is bright sun in this area, there's no real difference between the portion of the tile that was covered versus not covered, which I was actually really surprised about. As expected, the dirt was definitely more visible on the lighter tiles, but they're actually pretty easy to clean with a wipe or a mop as long as it's not dripping wet. Now to the mistake. If you look closely here, you can actually see that the grout lines from the original tile are visible underneath the tile. I think this could have been avoided if I put some painter's tape in the grout lines to fill them out a bit more before laying down the tiles, but obviously I didn't do that. Most of the day it looks normal, so I think I can get over it. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Hit subscribe to make sure you catch the next video. And in the meantime, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Joe's Abode. Bye!